On today's Church Techcast Q&A show, YouTube monetization, H.264, and auto-advancing videos. Hi everyone, and welcome again to another episode of the Church Techcast Q&A show. My name is Paul Allen Clifford, and I'm your host here. I'd love for you to join the conversation and send in your own questions. So head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact, and you can leave your message there, or you'll find all my contact information, like my email address, paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com, the voicemail number, 1-877-POD-ECHO, 1-877-763-3246, or my Twitter handle, which if you're watching the video, you'll see directly below my face, Paul Allen Cliff, PaulAllenclif. Any of those ways will get you in touch with me, and I'd love to answer your questions on a future show. Before we get started, I do want to point out just a couple of things that are near and dear to my heart. First off, all the streaming bandwidth for the Church Techcast network is provided by churchstreaming.tv, and I am in the middle of, towards the beginning actually, of writing my next article for Church Production Magazine. And one of the ideas that I had was how to get things from your computer onto a television. So from your laptop to the big screen. Of course, not the movie projector screen, but you know, the screen in your living room. And one thing that churchstreaming.tv has done for me is they've provided a Roku channel. Now, the Roku is a set-top box. It's actually less expensive than the Apple TV that you might have heard about, and has more features than the Chromecast, which you've also heard about. And I've just been really pleased with the ability to use the Roku to watch myself on my television screen. So that's something that, and you can do that live. Of course, I'm not doing that live, but you might be watching me on a Roku right now because you can. That's something that not every church has, is the ability to live stream to a person's television. And you can do that with churchstreaming.tv. That's included in their base price, and I just couldn't be happier with them. So head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/churchstreaming for a 1-month free unlimited trial. Also, I'd love for you to check out my pastor's book, What Life Are You Waiting For? I just can't say enough good stuff about this. My pastor, that's one of his core beliefs, that we were all made to do something. God didn't just save us from death and hell and etc., but he saved us for something. He has a plan for each and every one of us, and that's really what this book is about. All about God's wonderful plan for your life and the things that are holding you back and how to get past them. Because believe it or not, a lot of the things that are holding you back probably aren't the things that you think are holding you back. You might think that you're being humble when you're actually being insecure. For example, you might think that you're waiting on God when in fact you're just afraid to take the first step. So there are a lot of things like that that are stopping you from doing what God is actually calling you to do, and this book will help you get past that. So head over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/whatlifebook or /whatlife. Either of them should take you there. If What Life Book isn't working, then just drop the book from the thing, and that'll take you to the Amazon link where you can pre-order this Tyndale House published book. So let's get started on today's questions, because we've got a few very fun ones. First, I want to read this one. This is a little unusual because not a lot of churches are doing monetization of their YouTube videos, but some are. So I thought that I would share this little piece. Um, is there anyone else monetizing their YouTube channel and videos? I ask this because I have a channel I had monetized with ads back in July of last year. I didn't think I was getting any ad clicks on my video, but I just couldn't imagine after my views were over 30,000 not getting any clicks. So I started investigating. I found out I needed to hook up my Google AdSense account. So last week I did that. In less than a week I've made some money, but now looking at my stats, I've stumbled on the analytics for ad performance and looked at my all-time stats. My channel has been making a lot in playback-based gross revenue. Now, I know that this uh, is what advertisers pay YouTube, and YouTube takes a cut. But my question is, have I lost that revenue because I did not have my Google AdSense hooked up? I hope this is okay to post here. If not, let me know. That's, by the way, on the Christians in Business group on Google+. So I think there are two possibilities. I think either you have lost out on the revenue, or when you hooked up your AdSense account, now that you're making some money, YouTube really doesn't pay very much whatsoever. So it could be that by making some money, this bump in money is actually backdated stuff. In fact, if it's more than a few dollars, that's exactly what I would expect, unless you're getting like 30,000 views a month or something like that. I get probably a few thousand views a month, and I make almost nothing on my YouTube channel. So I think probably it could be the case that you actually did make some. Um, Otherwise, I think that you might have lost out on everything from July up until now. I don't know of a way to retroactively like point to it and go, here, remember all those videos? Right here, right here. So, sorry, Audrey. Stephanie Callahan over on the Christians in Business group again says, anyone here know video? I do. I have a video that I took on my iPhone that is in a MOV format, MOV. Apparently, to play it through my Amazon S3 plugin, it has to be in a different format. How does one convert to H.264 video? It already is an H.264 video. What your plugin may not be telling you is that it needs a different extension. So there's two parts to a video file. One is the wrapper, if you want to think of it, the type of video it is. And the other is the codec. Codec, short for compress, C-O, compress, and decompress, D-E-C, decompress, codec. So the codec is H.264. The wrapper is .mov. So you have a QuickTime video that uses the H.264 codec. Now, after some investigation, it turns out that what the thing actually wants, what the plugin actually wants, is an MP4 file. Well, that's just a different wrapper. So it should be the case that if you use something like MPEG Streamclip, QuickTime Pro, what's the other one that I use? Just a second here. Let me try and track that down because I've got it down here on my dock. It is Handbrake. If you use one of those, you should be able to transcode it to MP4 and then upload it and give it a try. So, just a little clarification that it actually already was in H.264. There are other codecs, by the way, so it could have been in ProRes 422, ProRes 4444, all kinds of different codecs, and still been a QuickTime movie. So I just happen to know that the iPhone records in H.264, so that's why I was of that opinion. Luther Hollums, who's been watching my videos on YouTube, sent me an email at paul@trinitydigitalmedia.com, and he said, "Paul, thanks a million for your video on the auto advance of videos. I am new to ProPresenter 5 and I need just a little tweaking on the subject. If I understand correctly, I should have the videos, foreground subjects, dragged to a background and then run auto advance from there, right?" Luther Hollums. Okay, Luther, I actually already sent him this. So it's actually kind of the reverse. The video needs to be a foreground video in ProPresenter 5, but you don't drag that into the order. You need to drag it basically into an empty song file. Now make sure this is the important piece, make sure it is not a background video. It needs to be set as a foreground video. When it's set as a foreground video, you can right click on it and there's a choice for the go to next timer. You can set the time on the go to next timer for however many seconds you want after the last frame of the video plays. Now if you need the video to be shorter, you need to go into media properties and set in and out points and save that. Do it that way. But so let's say you want it to linger on the last frame for 1 second and then go to a still image. Set the go to next timer to 1. If you want it to go directly to the next image after no time whatsoever, set the go to next timer to 0. If you want it to linger for 5 seconds, set it to 5, etc. Does that make sense? So on a still image, the go to next timer is how long do I show this still image. On a video file, it is how long after the video file plays should I stay on the last frame of this video before I go to the next element. Does that make sense? So in order to create this, it can't be a video by itself in the order on the left hand side of the screen. That won't work. It could be that there's a way to do it that I just don't know. But I do know how to make these auto-advancing slideshows, including videos, using this technique. And so I'm going to actually create a screencast to make that a little more clear, perhaps a little later. I've got a few things to do today, so we'll see. It might be next week before I actually get that done. Okay, Media Wade over on churchmedia.net asks, projector stacking. Hello, has anyone had any dealings with the Airflex 5D system? I want to stack two 5500 Benq projectors for a 16-foot wide image. Now, he says he wants to do that, but the question is confusing to me. Stack means one on top of each other for a 16-foot wide image. The reason you would stack projectors is if you either wanted a taller image, which would be, if you'd said 16-foot tall image, okay, that makes sense to me. Or you can actually stack projectors and shoot them at the same exact spot and get a brighter image. So let's say it's a 3000 lumen projector. If you have two of the same model, you could potentially stack two 3000 lumen projectors and get about 5900 lumen image. There is some loss when you do that. I don't know the physics of why, but that's what I was told when I was in seminary, and they were doing it with 2,000 lumen projectors way back when, like right after the Earth cooled in 2000 or so. So, um, so if you're stacking them, that's a different procedure than if you're edge blending. If you're putting them next to each other and blending the edges together to make one wide image, that's something totally different. I'm not familiar with the Airflex 5D system, but at my church we're doing something like that for our large back screen. We've got two Christie Rhodey projectors that are next to each other and they're edge blended together, but they're very high, so the angle that they're projecting at is really an extreme angle, so that you get the effect of rear projection in that people can get very close to the projector without interrupting the image. Um, and you get more resolution because basically we've got one on one side and one on the other. So I think that's actually what you're asking, and there are tons of edge blending solutions out there, not just the Airflex 5D system, if that's what you're asking. So I'll write you for more information about that. And let's see here. Ryan Bartlemain on Church Tech Leaders asked, I don't know if I'm crazy or what my deal is, but for some reason I don't get the rule of thirds, or rather, I don't know if I agree with it always. I'll try and illustrate, but basically when doing live video, I feel like having the eyes on the top third line places them too low for some reason. I tend to like them higher. You'll see the image I'm attaching. The example on the left is with the eyes on the top third line, and the example on the right is where I like it a lot better. Am I the only one, or am I just wrong and have a weird preference? Okay, well, so I wrote back because here's the difference. You'll notice as I sit up a little straighter, my eyes are about on the top third right now in this video. What he likes is the head to almost touch the edge of the frame. Actually, it's a wider shot, so to put the eyes about, it's about here, which feels very awkward, except he's zoomed out. So his shot is actually more like this, and he likes this. I'm looking at the pictures over on his post. So it's actually, the rule of thirds would say here, he likes them up here with almost no headroom. So a lot of people were talking about how headroom, blah, blah, blah. No. Headroom is subservient to the rule of thirds. Headroom helps you describe the proper placement, but it is not the rule that takes precedence. The rule of thirds takes precedence. So what I mean by the rule of thirds is if you can imagine a horizontal line at the top third and a horizontal line at the bottom third of your screen, as well as a horizontal line on the left third and the, man, doing this backwards is hard, and the right third. Okay, the most important things in the image need to be at the conjunction points. So if you look at my image right now, you'll notice that my eyes are at the in fact, anyway, my left eye, no, my right eye, man, it's not mirrored what I'm looking at. So my right eye is about at the conjunction point of the top third horizontal line and the right third vertical line. I did that on purpose. You'll notice that the churchtechcast.com sign in the background is balanced to where my eyes are, as if I did that on purpose, because I did that on purpose. So I put the most important things in the shot right on that horizontal line. Now, it's not the case that someone came up with the rule of thirds and then people followed it. Quite the opposite. Someone was studying great works of art, the Mona Lisa, great great landscape paintings, things from the Renaissance, etc., and they noticed that these great artists, all as if they were colluding with each other, even though that wasn't possible because they spanned hundreds of years, they all put the most important thing on the top third line. So if you are trying to tweak that, basically you're trying to change the way that they've done it. Now, when it comes to composition, that's not where the art is. The art is in what you change. So if you have a very good reason, you can do that, but it doesn't look right isn't a very good reason. As you're familiar with what looks right, you second guess yourself. And this is a problem that I had when I first started doing video. When I discovered the rule of thirds, I was really excited because I'd been following the information in all the camera instruction books that I'd gotten with the cameras that were translated from the original language into English and everything. And they had said, put the subject in the center of the shot and their eyes in the center. So it was a shot kind of like what you're seeing on the screen right now if you're watching the video. And that is very awkward. And as I just changed to using the rule of thirds, I found that I really liked my composition better. Now, as I went along, I started paying more attention to headroom than the rule of thirds, and as such, I would minimize headroom. But my mentor in video said, look, because I was showing him like a zoomed out shot that was too wide. No, it wasn't too wide, but it was a really wide shot, and there was tons of headroom because the farther you get away, while maintaining the eyes at the same spot. So as I move, you'll notice that the headroom decreases the closer I get to the camera, and it increases the farther away that I get. I said, look, there's just so much headroom. He goes, but look where the eyes are. The eyes are on the top third, where your eye wants to go. As I was paying attention to my pastor the other day as he was talking, I was noticing that I was paying, even though I have tons of room to look, because your vision doesn't have a boxed out frame. It just kind of fades into fuzziness around your peripheral vision. I was noticing that what I pay attention to is in like the top third of my field of view. So that's why that's very important. Now, with that said, neither of his two shots were good, because while the eyes were correct in one of the shots, the framing was correct in the other shot. So he was framed to a very awkward position below. So he actually needed to zoom out just a little bit or zoom in just a little bit and keep the eyes on the top third. So those work together. Your framing really matters because you don't want an awkward cutoff. Let me show you what I mean. So as I get closer, I'm going to awkwardly cut off my shot. Okay, so I'm very close to my frame, but I've cut off my head, which would be quite a trick, but at the neck, and that's an awkward position. Yet the eyes still in the top third. So framing also matters. So I think what I would say to him, and this is what I did, is don't look at headroom first. Look at headroom second as kind of a check. There's also nose room, by the way, and if the subject is looking at the edge of the frame, you wonder what are they looking at if they're too close to the edge of the frame. But if the subject is looking at more distance, you see how I've got something to look at? In my shot, you think, oh, he's looking at that sign. The sign is, 5 or 6 feet behind me, but that's what it looks like I'm looking at, as opposed to looking at the edge of the frame. So the edge of the frame is very powerful, and you don't want to get things too close to it because it has kind of a magnetic pull. So I guess that's all I wanted to say. And some people said that rules were meant to be broken. That's true, but you should know why you're breaking a rule. If you're just breaking a rule because I don't like that rule, that's not a good reason. A good reason is I'm trying to make people uncomfortable, so I'm breaking this rule. I'm trying to illustrate something, so I'm breaking this rule. I'm trying to, etc. So does that make sense? Does it make sense to you that you don't just break a rule to break a rule? You break a rule for a purpose. And it's not that these are guidelines. No, you're going to make people feel, at least on some level, unsettled when you do a bad shot. If you're not trying to, in this case it was for a sermon, so they weren't trying to make the people unsettled by what they were seeing. The pastor's words might do that by themselves. But in his preferred way, he was actually drawing the eye to the pastor's nose, which is not what you want. So think of your audience. Your preferences don't matter. What matters is how can you communicate best with your audience. If that's an awkward framing, that's fine, if you're doing it on purpose. If it's, I don't like the regular framing, or I don't like following regular rules, I don't know. I just don't see the purpose behind that. And I think that you need to be purposeful in what you're doing to communicate the best that you can. So, I really hope that this and the other questions are helpful to you. I hope that this show is helpful to you. Sometimes I get a little discouraged when I look at the numbers and say, man, not a lot of people watch, but I really think that I'm supposed to be doing this, so I'm going to continue on. I'd love for you to share this show and all the churchtechcast.com shows. Head over to trinitydigitalmedia.com for daily updates, Monday through Friday, and in between, what I want you to do is just go out and change eternity. Until then, I'm Paul Allen Clifford with trinitydigitalmedia.com.